I never thought I'd live in a country where you can fill in the blank with whatever cruelty you've recently read about. And even after reading so many articles and watching videos, standing outside Burlington's own Guantanamo for the past 10 weeks, the anti-immigrant vigilantism still feels surreal. Each new act of cruelty is a shock. And even if we're no longer as surprised as we once were, I hope we continue to be shocked and never accept this as normal. I never thought I'd live in a country where the government abducts, imprisons, and humiliates grandmothers, grandfathers, aunts, uncles, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, and children solely because they were born somewhere else. I thought we had learned from the detention of Japanese and Americans of Japanese ancestry. I never thought I'd live in a country where following the law is a trap for immigrants. Take the example of Jessica, an immigrant from Ecuador who came to the U.S. to seek asylum after she testified against a criminal organization who had murdered her husband and the prosecutor in the case. Jessica and her lawyer recently appeared at a scheduled court hearing to present her case for asylum. They were following the law. At the start of the hearing, the judge called her lawyer up to the bench, and he told her that no matter how he ruled, Jessica, quote, was going to end up getting deported somewhere. She might be sent to another country rather than Ecuador, but either way, she wouldn't be allowed to stay in the United States. This perversion of the law has now been affirmed by the highest court in the land. 2 days ago, the U.S. Supreme Court affirmed the government's ability to abduct and send immigrants anywhere in the world. Justice Sotomayor wrote in her dissent, quote, "The government has made clear in word and deed that it feels itself unconstrained by law, free to deport anyone, anywhere, without notice or an opportunity to be heard." I never thought I'd live in a country where federal agents are both judge and jury, declaring immigrants guilty without evidence and sentencing them to disappear. In recent court filings, the ACLU published the government's Alien Enemy Validation Guide. This is what ICE agents allegedly use to determine whether an immigrant is an enemy of our country. When ICE abducts someone above the age of 14 who was born in Venezuela, even if they are in the U.S. legally, the agents are asked to fill out a document that has 6 categories with associated points. For example, one of the categories is called symbolism, which includes any tattoos on the person's body. That's 4 points. Social media posts showing suspicious symbols. That's 2 points. Photos showing certain hand signs. That's 2 points. And clothing that, quote, indicates allegiance to the gang Tren de Agua. That's 4 points. There are 6 categories total with 87 possible points. Here's how ICE agents are instructed to interpret a person's final score. These are direct quotes from this form. Aliens scoring 8 points and higher are validated as members of Tren de Agua. Aliens scoring 6 or 7 points may be validated as members of Tren de Agua. A tally of 5 points or less is not a finding that an alien is not an alien enemy, because at any time, additional information may come to light. The government has created this demented scoring system while also claiming that the scores don't actually matter because all immigrants are likely enemies. This cruel logic resembles that of Stalin's secret police chief who said, "Show me the man and I'll show you the crime." Immigrants are not criminals and they are not my enemy. Armed federal agents who abduct human beings and deny them due process are the criminals in any democratic nation. One ICE official said in a sworn statement under oath, quote, "The lack of a criminal record and the lack of specific information about an individual actually highlights the risk they pose. It demonstrates that they are terrorists with regard to whom we lack a complete profile." This is the logic of madness that they follow. The government considers the lack of evidence against an immigrant as proof of their criminality. This is exactly how the Nazis viewed my ancestors. They didn't distinguish between individual Jews because they believed that all Jews were enemies of the state, and so their mass existence was the problem that required a mass solution. This is what is happening in our country, and we must voice our opposition today and always. Our government tells us that all immigrants are criminals because they are immigrants. We know this is a lie. We know the truth. Immigrants built this country and should be treated with dignity. We should be shocked at this new America we're living in, and we have the right to ask, where are the guardians of the Constitution? Where are those who protect the rule of law? Earlier this week, I met for more than 1 hour with a police chief in Massachusetts. When I asked why his officers won't at least ask ICE agents for their identification and ask to see their warrants before agreeing to help with crowd control, the chief replied that doing so would be, quote, career suicide. In a conversation with a top aide in Representative Catherine Clark's office, who represents Maynard, where Lori and I live, I asked why Representative Clark has not visited a single detention facility in our state and why she is not doing anything public involving immigration. I was told that Representative Clark doesn't want to do anything public because, quote, she wouldn't want to put a spotlight on Massachusetts. After speaking with a policy advisor in Representative Seth Moulton's office, who represents Burlington, I asked if he has any plans to take any action after visiting this facility or even release more information about what he saw. I was told, quote, he's too busy with other things. In a follow-up email after that conversation, Representative Moulton's aide wrote, quote, Congressman Moulton appreciated the seriousness and professionalism of the officials he met at the facility in Burlington. When we look to those in leadership positions and wonder why they are silent, whether they are in law enforcement or in the courts or in politics, we must bear a few things in mind. For many people, receiving a paycheck, preserving one's status in society, and remaining in the good graces of those with greater power are more important than the Constitution and more valuable than the lives of immigrants. I can relate to this desire. I too want to preserve my own position. I want to maintain financial stability. I often want to avoid rocking the boat. Whether someone is working in a small cubicle inside this building or sitting in a large office in Washington, D.C., so many good people are motivated to keep their heads down, provide for their families, get through the day, stay in their own lane, and please their masters. One of the core challenges of our movement will be figuring out how to make progress within a society dominated by these forces. I fear, however, that our government will make this case for us as their violence escalates and impacts the lives of more U.S.-born citizens who will find themselves speaking out for the first time. I just hope it isn't too late. It is frighteningly easy to envision a time when federal agents apply their enemy validation guide to all of us, whether we're passing through the airport or renewing a driver's license. Officials may one day assign scores to each of us based on our clothes, our social media content, our browser history, our membership with organizations, the words we use in emails and in phone calls. All of this will be done for national security. We stand up for others now. We stand up for what we believe in now, and we will speak the truth to anyone who will listen. Amidst all of this, we can remain who we are, despite our anger, despite our fear, despite our sadness, despite our frustration. The First Amendment of the Constitution states that we have the right, quote, peaceably to assemble. And we must remain peaceful if we are to demand nonviolence from others. We must be the opposite of ICE and show the power of compassion in order to build the strongest solidarity imaginable. As I've said before, our government officials stand in an impressive, brutal solidarity. Let us stand in loving solidarity.
Yes, amen.
Thank you.